What's good with the YouTube? This is Big Flacco with Felons Demand Podcast, man. And today, man, I got a special, past episode that really didn't get many views when it was on Real Talk. And it's about the fentanyl addiction and about the results of Mac Miller when he passed away. As we all know, I think one of the biggest epidemics right now in the United States of America is basically the fentanyl. This combined with dual diagnosis, which is you also have addiction and mental health issues, is I think the leading issue in our communities. It's the number one killer for ages 18 to 42. It's surpassed, automobile crashes. And right now it's not getting the attention that it needs, man. And people are losing their lives. And with the Mac Miller case, it's kind of sad because he thought he was buying some actual Percocets, but they ended up giving him counterfeit ones, which are really produced really cheap over there in Mexico. And we already know what the results of that was. An aspiring rapper that had a future, should make headlines for what happened and should be pushed out there a little bit more because, there's a lot of stuff going on out there, man. People will put other people's lives in danger just for a quick buck, man. And this is a prime example of this. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. So as we all know, in 2018, a well-known rapper named Mac Miller died, right? Based upon the fact that he thought he was purchasing Percocets, M30s. The ones that he got, he ended up getting some counterfeit Percocets that had fentanyl in them, okay? One of the individuals, right, has already taken 11 years. The one who actually had this product from the get-go, right, was an individual named Steve Andrew Walter, okay? He allegedly knew that these had fentanyl in them, okay, and he still supplied them. He just took 17 years. So this is going to be very important, man. This is going to set the standard for the future of those that are selling these pills out there on the streets. Now, there's also two other individuals that were involved. Those being Ryan Michael Rivas and Cameron James Pettit. Allegedly, Ryan Michael Rivas is the one that got them from Walter. He took them to Pettit, who ran them to Mac Miller. So allegedly, Rivas has already taken 11 years. So Pettit is the only one that hasn't took a deal. So you have three people involved in a transaction. So apparently you already know there was some telling going on. It went from Walter to Rivas to Pettit. One's already taken 17 years. Walter admitted in his plea agreement that if it wasn't for the fentanyl, because he had cocaine, alcohol in his system, if it wasn't for the fentanyl, he would have lived. Okay? So Walter already admitted that. Rivas was basically a runner, the in-between guy. He basically worked for Walter, and he would drop off to the people that Walter had working for him or that were getting product from him. Pettit's the one that supplied him. Now, under no time at all was it ever disclosed to anybody that he knew that he was giving them counterfeit pills. In fact, this individual, Walter, continued to sell these pills, these counterfeit, after already knowing. Now, fentanyl is so dangerous, man. And see, this is what's going on now. They're making all kinds of pills over there in Mexico, Norcos and so forth, and they're adding fentanyl in these to get the addiction craving, right? And they're trying to master it to where they can give it to certain individuals to where it doesn't kill them, okay? Now, fentanyl blue pill, M30, are being smoked out there in the streets. No one is taking them, swallowing them. If you do, you're going to probably die. There's a good chance, you know what I mean? 40% chance I think you will die if you have to swallow it. So now, we've had cases of people taking meth or heroin or cocaine, and you don't really hear too many people getting charged and being found guilty with this much time. So now with this fentanyl epidemic, right, these cases being involved, you could just be picking up something, being a middleman, giving it to someone else, and if they die, you could be charged just as well with murder. This case is a prime example. And I think that they're going to be starting to put more restrictions because the fentanyl thing is a big deal right now. It's taking over everywhere. New Mexico, Arizona, it's fucking crazy. Phoenix is the worst I think I personally have seen. And now it's starting to migrate into California, Washington. It's been out here for like the last 2-3 years. But what people are learning, like traditional IV users that used to shoot the black, they're learning that they can get the same high from smoking these pills. And it's a lot more cheaper for them. You get what I'm saying? But it's a lot more deadlier. And the addiction, the milias and so forth that you get from it is like no other. You know what I'm saying? So I thought this was a really interesting case for me to really quickly break down for you guys, man. 17 years to complete deal. You know what I'm saying? That's a plea agreement. He didn't go to trial, get found guilty or whatnot, man. And the thing that really got the district attorney upset was, even after knowing that Mac Miller died, he still continued to sell the pills, man. You know what I'm saying? Um, what a way to go. You know what I'm saying? You're purchasing one item, you think you're getting this and that, and that's the risk that you take out there in the drug game. That's the risk that you take being a drug user. You never know what you're really getting or what you're putting in your body. So you have to be really cautious and think, man, is this really worth it? What risk am I putting myself out there in? You know, years ago, man, when I was in the dope game, you know what I'm saying? We never really had any type of issues where someone would OD or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, the main drug at that time was probably the methamphetamine at the time. PCP a little bit. And just for the old timers would be that Gadaga. You know what I mean? After this, the Oxycontins came out, right? Basically, it just blew up the scene. And see, I don't think that they thought that the addiction was going to translate into the, the suburbs, which is what happened, man. Because you started seeing people in places like, say, in the Bay Area, Danville, Dublin, rich areas and stuff like that, Woodside and all that, where you had kids with a lot of money, good family upbringing, but they were addicted to pills. Next thing you know, as soon as they started putting the codeine on these pills, the Oxycontins, next thing you know, you see them in fucking West Oakland picking up some fucking heroin, or you see them in the Tenderloin over there fucking just sitting there while they have a fucking mansion back at home. It's really crazy, man, how much control that these opioids have over people. The epidemic is just going to continue. And I think we need to put more information out there for the public. I think we need to really, I don't like opioids at all. I think it's fucking damaging to the community. I think you put yourself at risk every time, and some of the things that you see people do just for these drugs, man, is sickening. You know what I'm saying? It's just the most sickest thing that you'll ever see. You know what I'm saying? So, what solution do we have here? And that's the thing to ask is, what do we have? The methadone clinics help temporarily. You know what I'm saying? But even in drug programs, you have some drug programs to where they're stopping people from getting the methadone. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard of people actually who've gone out and using, or people who've killed themselves because they're that sick. So I think more information needs to be put out there. And I think as a public, I think we got to quit being prejudgmental. There's a lot of people out there that, unless it happens to their family members, they don't understand it. So they put it down, they downplay it. They don't look at the bigger issue that addiction's addiction. It doesn't discriminate what side of the tracks you're from. You could be rich, poor, straight, gay, black, white, Mexican, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It can affect anybody at any time. Once you cross a certain threshold, you put yourself into what you call active addiction. And this stuff's even worse because the come down is like no other. And I think that they need to restructure a lot of different new laws. Like, instead of decriminalizing it, which I get decriminalize it, but at the same time, have consequences. So if you get busted for this, where you have to get taken in, why don't you put them in a detox center first and then into temporary treatment before you release them? Because all you're going to do is have a revolving door. You know what I'm saying? They come in, they get arrested, they're in jail for maybe a day or two, or they get cited on the spot. And then they don't go to 10 court dates. If we really care about solving the issue, then we're going to take different measures, because what we've been doing for years doesn't work. The ability to succeed going into a recovery home is very limited, man. I think it's like maybe 10% people maintain their sobriety for any long term. A lot of people quickly go out there and they start using. And a lot of times it's because these programs don't have the resources or tools or the finances to give these people what they need. You know what I mean? You don't know how many times I went through a treatment center, okay? And I used to go over there and sponsor, man, and I used to see the same cycle happen over and over again, right? People get clean. They start doing good. They're motivated, right? But they're only in there for 90 days. And next thing you know, they're thrown out there to the wolves. Could they go to an SLE? No, because the SLE is going to charge them like $1,500, $1,200 for a room. You know what I'm saying? There's no funding. So some people are coming off the streets with nothing. And next thing you know, they have nowhere to go. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to go back out there to using, man. You know, and see, looking at this Mac Miller case, right? It only becomes a problem when it affects the rich. That's where I have an issue on it. You know what I'm saying? Now you're giving these guys a big sentence because it affects someone that was really famous and known. But probably if it was anyone else, probably be like maybe a 2-year sentence or maybe even county time. That's the problem with these type of issues, out there in the community. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I've been learning a lot about this. I'm supposed to go out in a couple weeks, and I'm supposed to do some filming and some discussions with a producer that's putting together a movie based upon the opioids. And so the way it has gained control of, the United States has been crazy. We should have been able to see this about 10 years ago. We've seen the early signs. When you started having people who were never had an addiction issue in their life and are in their 40s, now all of a sudden are addicted, why are we still funneling pills and getting people even more addicted? I don't know how many times I've heard the same story. Someone was a former alcoholic or whatnot, and they end up injuring themselves, and they get these pills. And then they start to misuse these pills because they're in pain. And next thing you know, they grab an addiction. Well, they were never an addict before, but now they picked up a whole new habit. You get what I'm saying? It's crazy. And we already know where it's all coming from, man. Across the border, they're able to manufacture it cheap. The fentanyl is coming over from locations such as India, China, and so forth, man. It's basically been designed to pretty much destroy this country in some ways, if you think about it, man. The Asian countries, they know exactly what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? They're bringing a whole new epidemic to this country. That's why they're selling the shit for so fucking cheap. You know what I'm saying? And plus it's dangerous, man. With nowadays, you never know where you're getting it from. So you have different chemists that are making it, or chemists that are teaching certain people. And if they don't have the right ratio, you can die easily. They say 2 out of every 5 pills are considered fatal. Okay. And I think Arizona, Phoenix, I think they had, let me see, last year, I think it was like almost 2 overdose deaths a day. In Tucson, they had about 1 a day in that county. That's how serious this stuff is getting. That's worse than fucking gunplay in most of these cities. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about this. You got to worry about fucking getting loaded and fucking overdosing. I came to learn one of the dudes that I interviewed passed away recently. You know what I'm saying? And some of these people I go out there and I talk to, man, and I could never grasp how bad it really was. I could see it and witness it, but some of the stories that you hear, man, I've heard stories of women being taken advantage of, falling asleep in a random park and waking up with someone on top of them. You know what I mean? I've heard of people get, I had one guy who was, he was assaulted in that way, a guy, because he fell out and the dude took advantage of him. You know what I'm saying? Any of your belongings, they're taking everything. They have no type of, no type of fucking decency at all, man. You know what I'm saying? The worst of the worst. Like Toxic Crusader land is just how it looks everywhere, man. You go out to like Phoenix is a common area I used to go do interviews in. 51st and McDowell, off the fucking hook, all the way to 27th in Indiana. So hopefully, man, with the cases that we've been seeing lately, we've heard about the cases in prison. They had that, I think at the end of March, they had a whole bunch of overdoses. We've heard about in certain prisons and so forth as well, people dying. We've heard in the county jail in San Diego. Hopefully that this gets enough attention that finally we can find a way to solve this problem. There has to be a solution, man, because this is different than anything else. Other things such as meth and coke and so forth, man, those are going to continue no matter what. Do they have effects? Yes, very much so. And they're just as damaging. But this new fentanyl shit is just 10 times worse, man. It's taking people's lives. You know what I'm saying? It's putting people in position to where they're not living in a tent like some tweaker. They're living fucking behind some garbage can because that's the only place they can go. You know what I mean? They're looking for fucking newspapers and cardboard boxes that have been pissed on and fucking using that for shelter. That's the truth about what's going on out there, man. Don't be misled. Anyways, like I said, Mac Miller, young, had a future career, was died. You know, and the person who sold them these pills knew the whole time they were counterfeit, knew there was fentanyl in them, did not care, was more worried about making that dollar than doing the right thing. And see, that's another thing, man, you got to sit there and really take into consideration, man. Like, you know, I get the game's a game, right? But if you're pushing a product that could potentially take lives, and you knowingly do this, man, think about that. Have some type of moral compass. You know what I mean? You know, that's why I used to stay away from fucking pushing certain pills, and fucking even the black guy stayed away from it, because I knew where it brought people. I knew the severe risk it could be. So I decided to, you know what I mean, involve myself in other ventures that were, less risk of people dying. You know, if you're pushing those fentanyl pills out in the streets, I get it. You know, you're making a quick buck, but do you have a conscience of whose life you may be taking? I mean, San Jose, there was a baby that ended up dying a couple years ago, you know, due to exposure to fentanyl. You know, the stuff's real, man. Anyways, it's your boy Flacco, man. Real Talk with Flacco, man. This is just a quick spill. I didn't know what I was going to do today because I was been working on so much other stuff, man. I came across this article. I figured, man, everybody want to know, man, what happened with Mac Miller. You know what I mean? The guy that sold him the dope. All right, anyways, I'm gone.